Hi, right. Today's lesson is on algebra and shape, so it combines two topics. One you've done more recently, and a lot of it is to do with angles as well. So it combines two of my favourite topics actually. This is going to work. So A and B are a bit like worked example. Your turn. I'll do the one on the left, talk through it, then you can do the one on the right. So first up. So yeah, the thing that's sort of missing from this I've cut off is it says solve for x. So find what x is, which is what I've ended up with. X equals something. Now the key to these questions is forming your first line of the equation. So how did I know that 2x minus 3 add x equals 90? Well, if I look at the diagram, then I can see that there's a right angle drawn on here. Right angle is 90 degrees, that's where I got the 90 from. So once I've set up that equation, then it's just solving equations from there. And notice that, well, first step, I collect like terms, so I simplify 2x add x is 3x. Then here to here, notice that I'm no longer putting what I'm doing each time, so I haven't put that I've added 3 to both sides. But you can see from my working, it's implied. I'd sort of compare it to like taking the stabilizers off your bike. You can start to maybe not say what you're doing, if you're feeling confident. If you're not, if you still feel like you want to, then by all means carry on doing the arrows or the plus threes or whatever. But again, look here, I haven't actually said what I've done, but you can see from my working I've divided by 3. So you don't always have to put exactly what you're doing every time. It can just be implied what you're doing. Right, have a go at question B. Pause the video and I'll go through it now. So we're marking in red pen. And the equation we can set up this time is x add 3x add 20. So the two angles added together, what's the angle factor? No, they add to 180. I'll leave off the degree sign in my working, but it is 180 degrees. So they're angles next to each other on a straight line, so they must add to 180. Let's collect my like terms. Take away 20 from both sides, and then divide by 4. So x is 40. Make sure you mark that or correct anything you got wrong. Right, can you have a go at this question? So find out what x is, and then I'll go through it now. So I know that it's in a quadrilateral. What's a fact I know about angles in quadrilateral? That they add to 360. So I can start with 3x, add 4x, add 3x minus 5, add 45 equals 360. So I've just done every single angle in there added together. Some people get a bit confused when there's a minus in there because we're adding things together, but it's because this angle here is 3x minus 5. So because it has a minus in it, you can still add the whole thing together. Now I'm going to collect my like terms. That's 10x plus 40. So you should have got x equals 32. Right, next up, I'd just like to review angle facts quickly. Oh no, that's the wrong thing. There we go. So we know the first one, they add to 90 degrees. Oops. They add to 90 degrees. These ones, angles around a point, add to 360 degrees. This one, we might realise that we know A equals B and C equals D. The name for that is because vertically opposite angles are equal. So they equal each other because they're vertically opposite. They meet at a vertex. That's where that vertically comes from. So vertically opposite angles are equal. A equals B, C equals D. They're opposite to each other and they meet at a vertex. oops. We know that this one, the angle's on a straight line, add to 180. We've seen an example of that. Now this next one, you might not remember the name of it, but these two angles equal each other. They are the same because they are corresponding angles. So if you're looking to set up an equation, let's say, well, we'll look at some examples later actually. So what's special about them? They're equal. What they're called, they're corresponding angles. So this line here is called the transversal line. It intersects the parallel lines. So they're both on the same side of that. They're both to the right of that, and they're both like underneath the parallel lines. You could have. I'll just draw another set of corresponding angles. This one would be corresponding with this one. So again, they're both the same side as the transversal line and both underneath the parallel lines. But you could also have ones that are above the parallel lines, and they would be corresponding because they're the same side of the transversal line and above the parallel lines. Okay, this next one, A is equal to B again, so they're equal to each other, but it's different this time because they're either side of the transversal line. A equals B because alternate angles are equal. So these are called alternate angles. I'll just draw the other pair of alternate angles there, this one and this one. So they're sandwiched between the parallel lines and either side of the transversal line. Next couple to have a look at, and this is where I like to use that word sandwiched again. These two angles, what's special about those? Well, A plus B equals 180 degrees, and there's quite a few names for these. They're called co-interior angles, is one of their names. So the special thing about them is they're sandwiched between the parallel lines and they're the same line as the transversal line. So they're always, whatever they are, they'll add to 180 degrees. Sum of angles in a triangle, we know add to 180 degrees, so all of these angles would add to 180. And quadrilateral, we saw before, add to 360 degrees. Right, the questions I'd like you to have a go at next then. There's so many angle questions here. Question 1, there we go. So just in case it's a bit blurry on the video, then that says 35 degrees, that says 45, and that says 8x plus 20. So have a go at the question, and then I'll go through it now. I can knock it off. There we go. Okay, so marking in red pen, make sure you've had a go at it. What do we know about all these angles? They must add to 180. So we've got 8x, and again this is solve for x, so we're finding out what x is. 35 and 45 is 80, add 20 is 100. So you should have got x equals 10. Make sure you mark that and correct anything you got wrong. Question 2 and 3. So just in case it's blurry on the video again, this angle is 9x plus 35, and this angle is 4x add 60. And you know what? Let's leave off B. Don't worry about doing B. You can have a go if you want, but I'm not going to go through it in this video. Okay, I'll go through the question A now, so 2A. What do we know about those? They're vertically opposite, so we know they're equal to each other. So it must be 9x add 35 equals 4x add 60. Ah, no, this is a skill we've been practicing a lot, and it's where we've got an unknown on both sides. So I'm going to take away 4x from both sides. Then take away 35, and then divide by 5. That gets me x is 5. The final answer there is x is 5. notice that I sort of changed in between. When the equation looked quite hard, I was noting down what I was doing to both sides, but then when it got a bit easier, I then just sort of was on autopilot a bit and just did it. So maybe that's something to follow through with. If you're finding it hard, then try and note down what you're doing to each side. Question 4. So again, if it's blurry, then that says 10x minus 15, and that says 8x plus 5. So have a go at it, pause the video, and then I'll go through it now. So they are a pair of corresponding angles. They're the same side of the transversal line, and they're both like underneath the parallel lines, or sort of to the left of the parallel lines. So they're corresponding. So I know that corresponding angles are equal. So I can set up that equation. Remember, that's the key to these sorts of questions, setting up your initial equation, using your angle fact, setting up the equation. 8x. So x must be 10. Make sure you mark that. And then final angles 1. This angle says 5x plus 25. And this angle says 6x minus 10. So make sure you have a go at it, and then I'll go through it now. So they are sandwiched between the parallel lines, and they're the same side of the transversal line. So they are co-interior angles. So my equation I can set up is that the two of them add, so they add to equal 180 degrees. Now I'm going to collect my like terms. And then what's 165 divided by 11? I'm being lazy there and doing it in my calculator. 15. Should have known that. So x equals 15. Right, I'm just going to show you one more example, or maybe a couple, seeing how long it takes. Algebra and perimeter. Let's just look at this question first. I can't remember what the original question was, but let's just imagine it was solve for x. Well, I don't know if we've done much goal-free stuff, but we could just imagine it's work out as much information as possible. So the thing that's special about this rectangle and equation we can set up is that this side is equal to this side, and this side is equal to this side. So I could set up 2 equations there. One doesn't actually really help me, because one just says x equals x, which isn't really helpful because it states the obvious. It's like saying 2 equals 2 or 3 equals 3, and if I take away x from both sides, then I just get 0 equals 0. So it doesn't actually help me progress in terms of finding anything out. But it is a fact that we know. So the thing that's going to help me here is that 4x plus 1 equals 2x plus 12, because it's a rectangle and these are the same. So that's my equation I set up this time. So I'm not using angles this time, but I'm using the lengths of sides. So these will often come up in rectangle questions, isosceles triangles, equilateral triangles, and you can solve based on the information you're given. So if I take away 2x from both sides, take away 1 from both sides, and then x equals 5.5. Let me just check I've done that right. Take away 2x, take away 2x, yep. Yeah, looks good. Okay, final question. I would like you to have a go at them. So I was planning to do that one with the triangle there, but I think I don't want to go on for too long. So now this is a tricky question actually. So see if you can have a go at it, and then I'll go through it. See this as an extension if you feel like I'm absolutely done now. But if you want to have a go at it, then have a go. It's a good question. It's tricky. So well done if you did attempt it. The perimeter of the rectangle is equal to the perimeter of the square. Okay, so I can get an expression for the perimeter of the square by doing, I could do x plus 5, x plus 5 and do it 4 times. But I know that actually I can do 4 times x plus 5 and I'll get the same thing because there's 4 lots of this. They're all the same, so there's 4 lots of it. So that's the perimeter of the square. And I can simplify that to 4x plus 20. How about the perimeter of the rectangle then? Well, the perimeter of the rectangle would be 2 lots of 2x minus 3 and 2 lots of x plus 8. Again, I could do 2x minus 3 plus 2x minus 3 plus x plus 8 plus x, and I might as well now I've written all that out, x plus 8, or I could have done 2 brackets, 2x minus 3, and so on and so on. So let me collect my like terms now. So 2x add 2x is 4x, add another x is 5x, add another x is 6x. Minus 3 is minus 6, add 8 is positive 2, add another 8 is positive 10, so add 10. Now it says the perimeter of the rectangle is equal to the perimeter of the square, so now I can set up an equation. If you're seeing that equals, then you can think, right, I can set up an equation now. 4x plus 20 equals 6x plus 10 because the perimeters are equal to each other. I want to keep positive x's, so I'm going to take 4x away from both sides first of all. Then I'm going to take away 10. And then I'm going to divide by 2, so x is 5, but what did the question say? Find the area of the square. So if this length here, where if x is 5, then that means that length is 10. So the area must be 10 times 10, which is 100. And it doesn't say if it's centimetres, so I'll just leave it as 100 units squared, because I don't know what it was in. Alright, really, really well done if you had a go at that, and if you followed it through all the way to the end, and or even if you just got part of the way and worked out whatever you could. Have a great rest of your day.